Before we go into this lesson, we give all honor, all glory, and all praises to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekakwadash. We give double honors to the apostles and prophets and elders of GMS Camp, better known as Great Millstone, for to bring forth the 100% truth that I've been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David. And I am Roberta Zariak coming through this lesson. The lesson we're doing today is a redo, and also is because Jake, that was trying to, debunk me, got caught up and got cut by the scriptures, not trying to cut him, but more so to correct him, which eventually he began taking the correction, and now he wants to understand how Israel became heathens and how they became Gentiles, to be exact. And I have a definition here because not everyone would take your lessons and use it as something that would be edifying to them. Some still want more proof. So instead of going through all that, I decide to hit the definition of the word Gentile in the Hebrew.
Strong's H 1471. Goy.
This is Yiddish.
Goy.
It says goy, right? When I go into the outline of biblical usage, it gives you 3 points of that, which is what? Usually of non-Hebrew people. Then you have point 2, the descendants of Abraham. And then you have the final and main point of Israel. So even by your definitions, it's telling you that even Israelites were called Gentile or heathen. Because when they go lower down and they count 8x and the H1471 following, as it goes with the nations, that is definition. Let's see the words that is given a definition to. We have the heathen, we have Gentiles, we have people. So you're seeing where heathen, this word also goes back into the word heathen or Gentile, which is the main point, and it means what? Usually of non-Hebrew people, yet again, descendants of Abraham and of Israel. 3 points to make it clear as we can possibly get it. Now, with that being understood, it would be impossible for you to now say that there's no such thing as Israelites being Gentiles or heathens. Now, with that definition being brought forth, you would be a liar. So instead of trying to remove the understanding, remove what we are saying or try to debunk us, now you have no choice but to listen. Because you can't fight definition, especially going back into its translations. See how difficult it is now for you to try to say this is not what it's going into? It is what it's going into. It is what it's going into. So with that, let's get a precept to show you how the Israelites became heathen. What did they do? According to going to Ezekiel 20 again. Ezekiel 20 and verses 30 and points at verse 31 and 32. And it says, Wherefore say unto the house of Israel, Thus saith Yahweh power, Are ye polluted after the manners of your fathers, which and committed ye whoredom after their abomination? For when ye offer your gifts, when ye make your sons to pass through the fire, ye pollute yourselves with all your idols, even unto this day, and shall I be inquired of by you, O house of Israel, as I live, saith Yahweh power, I will not be inquired of by you. Here it says, and that which committed into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen. As the what? Heathen. As the families of the countries to serve wood and stone. As I live, saith Yahweh power, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out will I rule over you. They wanted to be as what? As the heathens, as mentioned here. We could also get another account in 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 13. Listen to what the precept says. Verse 13 says, Yet Yahweh testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, Turn ye from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I commanded your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Here it says, notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks. That's what the Bible calls what? Stiff neck and sottish people. Rebellious. It says, like to the neck of their fathers that did not believe in Yahweh their power. Verse 15. Here it says, pay attention. And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them, which you have many Israelites doing even today, taking up other ways and customs and gods, and leaving away the true power, the true and living power. We even have Jake women teaching against Yahweh Shemel Shai, saying that he is not all-knowing and he does not have the truth and he isn't all-powerful. Folly in this world, in this kingdom, which is why the two-thirds, we see now why they have to be put down. But let me not stray from the topic, dealing with the heathens, right? That Israelites were called heathens also because they became heathens. This is to show you how they became heathens. Let's continue, right? And his testimony, which he testified against them, and they followed vanity and became vain and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yahweh had charged them that they should not do like them. So what did Israel do? They went on to the heathens and practiced their ways. We have another example shown in the book of Maccabees. Yet again, now we could have gone back into Deuteronomy or even Hosea. But let's stop and let's go into the book of Maccabees, because this also is a crucial point as to when the Israelites literally went on to the heathens and kept their ways, joined themselves with the heathens, to be exact. Let's read. First Maccabees chapter 8, 1 and verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, Let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrows. So you see, they say make a covenant with the heathen. Now my question to you is, if you choose to make a covenant with another power or another nation, what does that mean? That means you are severing the covenant that you have made with Yahweh Shemel Shai. And I will show you as you go further down what making a covenant with the heathen does. It says what? Verse 12. So this device pleased them well. It says, Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. They willingly accepted the ways of the heathen and went to get license to do it too, as though they are of that people. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathens. And this goes back into what? the gymnasium that they built. When they go into the Jewish encyclopedia, they built gymnasiums where they went into these gymnasiums and these exercise naked as they're born, even practicing abominable acts in these gyms, in these place of exercise. When they go into the whole story, it gives you a vivid explanation according to the history. So they literally partake of the ordinances and the ways of the heathens. They join themselves with the heathens, making themselves heathen. They became pagan according to the scriptures. They became pagan, which goes back into what? Ethnos. Which is why when I get into the New Testament, you see ethnos, majority, half the time, it's referring to an Israelite that became pagan. Because it is impossible for a heathen to become pagan when they were never given the laws from the beginning. Hence why the word ethnos, that goes back to the word pagan, would only be referring to a Jake that has fallen short and have went after the ways of the heathen. Which is why it's important to look at your definitions. Very important too. Let's continue. It says, whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathens. According to the what? Customs of the heathen. Now let's go into a precept to clarify why you're not supposed to partake of these customs of these heathens. Because when they go into Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 29, it was made clear. To 30 it says, for whosoever shall commit any of these abominations, even the souls that commit them shall be cut off from among their people. Shall be what? Cut off. Therefore shall ye keep mine ordinances, that ye commit not any of these abominable customs. And what? Ye shall keep my ordinances one time, that ye commit not any of these abominable customs. Or else why? We just read it. Or they will be cut off. Was that Israel partaking of these abominable customs on a daily basis? Yes. If the penalty and the punishment is they be cut off from among their people, which is the people that are keeping the ways of Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and you go into the word cut off, and you see this, watch this. Let me get it clear.
Strong's H 3772. Karath.
And karath means to cut off, cut down, cut off a body part, cut out, eliminate, kill. Here's the point. Cut a covenant. So if you are cutting a covenant, that means you are severing the covenant that you have with Yahweh Shem Yahushai, no longer making you his people. And if you are no longer his people, what would you then be? A heathen. Even if you may go back to that bloodline, you could still be a heathen unto him by being disobedient. It's as clear as you can get it. There's no mistake in this. None whatsoever. But he still had mercy on us even though we broke his covenant. Because we are still the offsprings, the very offsprings of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. The direct offspring according to the scripture, according to Romans 8. So this is how Israel became heathen according to the scriptures. We even have an account where in 2nd Esdras, Ezra, chapter 2 and verses 33, I mean, this was direct. But we will go into the Maccabees after, continue Maccabees after. But this was direct. Ezra received a charge of Yahweh upon Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught. What does it mean to set me at naught? They didn't want to hear. They rejected it. They see it as nothing, which they have done before, being stiff-necked, being rebellious, being sottish. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught and despised the commandment of Yahweh, which many of our people are still doing today, saying that the laws are done away with. When the Bible still tells you to rehearse the righteous acts. When Yahweh shall say, if ye love me, keep my commandments. Verse 34, and therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen. You see what Ezra, the prophet, the mouthpiece of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, said to the Israelites? He called them a heathen. He was sent to them, and because of their wickedness, he called them. O ye heathen, that hear and understand, look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand, that shall come in the end of the world. See how Israel became heathen based off of their disobedience. Now let's see how much things they have done to make themselves heathen. It's direct in the scriptures. All you have to do is do a little reading. That's it. First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 41. Let's start with King Antiochus, or as you call him, Antiochus, however you choose to call him. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. This man sounded like Nebuchadnezzar. He sounded like Esau, Edom. Only they want all to be one people at this present point in time, to follow after their wickedness. But let's read. And everyone should leave his laws, so all the heathen, now listen, this is not Israel, this is heathen, separate, according to the commandment of the king, agreed, according to the commandment of the king. And here's the separation. Yea, many also, not all, many also of the Israelites consent to his religion and sacrifice unto devils and profaned the Shabbat. Many also of the Israelites, again, which you have them doing today, taking up other customs like Egyptology, like baptism, like all these Christian philosophies and ways, which were created by the enemy itself. They know that, and they still spoon-feed their foolishness, and we have many people falling short of these wicked religions today. Wood and stone, according to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 64. Wood and stone, which they will follow after. Where is the wood? The cross. Where is the stone? The Kaaba stone, Muslim. Or you could even have statues like Mary and all these things going as part of your church, which you're not supposed to partake of. They have become heathen, because they agreed to the commandments of the king and the customs and the ways of the heathen. Now, my point is out. Not only Israel were Hellenized, but the heathens were not given the laws and ways to become separate or holy. It was the Israelites. Plus, when they go into Psalms 83, it made it clear what was the agenda of the enemy, which we will get. Which, if you read, it actually tells you that they were trying to make them heathen so that they could rule over them and eventually destroy them. Let's read. Psalms 83 and verses 2. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, you see, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. So you see the confederacy against the other nations, cutting off the Israelites from being a nation, By means of what? Transatlantic slave trade and all the other wickedness that they have done against our people to keep us in a low estate. Let's read. That they have said, let us come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Here are your enemies, the chief enemy, the tabernacle of Edom, the Edomites, so-called white man, the Ishmaelites, the Moabites, the Hagarenes, the Gabal, the Ammon, the Amalek, the Philistines, and the inhabitants of Tyre, which is what? The Hamites. Your very said Hamites, the Africans, that's the Hamites. So you're seeing the enemies being lined out here. You could continue to read the rest. But again, listen to their agenda was to what? Make us what? Cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. To completely wipe us out. But let's continue. Let's go back into Maccabees 1 and verse 43. And we read. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judea, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. See? Shall follow the strange laws of the land. That is not their ways. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings, forbid them in the temple, that they should profane the Shabbat and festival days, and pollute the sanctuary. So even things like the Passover, they were forbidden to keep, which Bible tells you will be cut off if you don't keep it. Another way how they would become heathen, by willingly accepting the ways of Antiochus the king, or Antiochus the king, whichever one you want to use. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. See? Totally abominable in all their ways. And this was the way that Antiochus wanted them to partake of. Israelites. Now we're going to continue reading until we get to the point where you can see how they became heathen, how they became Greek, how they became Gentile, how they became pagan. You've seen it right here. It says what? That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation. That includes all sexual, homosexuality, and all the manner of wickedness that they partake of. Bestiality and all kind of nastiness. When they go into a history as to what took place with the Israelites, the Jews, in the Greek time, what they had them doing. Jewish Encyclopedia, look up the Hellenist. It gives you a full understanding, full scale, to the point where the Israelite men, they were circumcised, and they would find skin to resew on their rod to appear as though they are not circumcised, as they are uncircumcised. And these same foreskin that they sewed on their rod would have given them an infection, a nasty infection. These things were taking place at a great scale. Let's continue. It says that to the end they might forget the law. That's the point. They want them to forget the law, which they did at that time, and change all their ordinances. But remember, it says before, many of the Israelites, not all, so many of them did that. And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So if you do partake, that is game over. So what you think Israel would have done? Many of them. And they would have partaken because they don't want to die. But the one who stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh Shem Yahushai were the ones at the end to dwell safely even in the enemy's land. Though we had many people being persecuted for the name of Yahweh Shem Yoshai. Just to be exact, I want to put that out there. Well, let me go to 2 Maccabees, chapter 6, just to make the point clear. Because again, if I bring this out like this, people would not believe. And it says, neither was it lawful for a man to keep the Shabbat days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself to be a Jew. So my question, you are in the Greek Empire, the Greek nation. You are unable to call yourself a Jew. Many of you all have taken license to do after the ordinances of the heathen. In other words, gain citizenship. That's what we're going into. What would you then call yourself if you cannot profess or call yourself a Jew? A Greek, right? So if you are calling yourself a Greek, if there were Israelites that couldn't call themselves Israelites, or claim, I from the tribe of Judah, and I from the tribe of Levi, and I from the tribe of Benjamin, and what would they have to call themselves if they're in the nation of the Greeks? Grecians or Greeks. That's it. That's the history building up to the New Testament. Greco-Roman to Roman Empire. Even going lower down, verses 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles should be put to death. Either you listen, either you partake, or you die. This is how Israel became heathen, or how they became Gentile, or how they became Greeks. Many of them, because of their willful disobedience, are still Gentiles today. They are still heathen today. They are Israelites by blood, but because of their ways and their disobedience and their rebellious and stiff-necked ways, guess what? They are heathens in the eyes of Yahweh Shem Yoshai. This is why an elect, a remnant, is waken up. For what? For they to be saved. That's the point of it. So the Israelites, this is how Israel were called heathen or Gentile, based off of their disobedience. And we brought the scriptures out clear as day. Clear as day. There's no getting around that. So I hope this information was indeed clear. I want to get one more precept. I believe it's Psalms. I'm not sure if it's Psalm 106, I believe. 106 and verse 33. Let's read. Perfect. It says, because they provoke his spirit, so that he spake unadvisedly with his lips, they did not destroy the nations concerning whom Yahweh commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their ways. What did they do? They mingled among the heathens and they learned their ways. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. Yea, let's continue. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils, and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with their blood. You see how they became Gentiles and heathens? Let's keep reading. As it says, thus were they defiled with their own works, and went a whoring with their own inventions. Therefore was the wrath of Yahweh kindled against his people, in so much that he abhorred his own inheritance, and he gave them into the hand of the heathen, and they that hated them ruled over them. You understand how Israel now became heathen or became Gentile. This by itself should be enough evidence, along with the definition of the word Gentile or heathen being of non-Hebrew people, point 1, point 2, of the descendants of Abraham, and point 3 of Israel. Because it goes back to that. So I hope this information, this short piece of information, is clear and edifying to you, so that no one could tell you otherwise. Because the Bible has already made it clear. It is clear. It is an undeniable fact that Israelites became Gentile. So I hope this lesson was edifying. Shalom Yasharala. Kal Halal Yam Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Bahasham Rakakodash. We give double honors to the apostles and prophets and elders of JMS Camp, Between Great Millstone, for the before the 100% truth that have been currently edified under. Shalom to the elect, the tabernacle of David, and I am a brother Tazaria Kazak, saying to you, Shalom.